All right. So we want to go from nervous interviewee to confident, articulate interview superstar, right? Well, that's why you need to lean into the STAR method. If you don't know what the STAR method is and you're wondering why should you even care, that's what I'm going to break down for you right now. So, jumping right in, the STAR method is what I like to consider my and your personal interview lifeline. It's pretty much what I like to consider kind of just that framework that helps you structure your responses and your answers so you can actually showcase your skills and actually leave a lasting impression on the person that's interviewing. It's super important when it comes to interviews. It makes things a lot easier for you when you're responding, like I said. And we're going to break it down. And we'll start with just what it means, the acronym itself, STAR, situation, task, action, and result. And the first thing we have is a situation. When we think of the situation, what I like to do is think of it as the time to set the stage for your story. This is where you really paint that vivid picture and dive into the context, the challenge, or really maybe even the opportunity that you faced. Now, depending on the interview, a lot of detail or maybe even a little bit of detail, it could be beneficial. So it's really up to you on how you want to set that tone. It's something that I think if you master it, the right amount of detail is always going to be great. But I do think it's super important to save some of that juice just in case your interviewee has follow-up questions or wants to dig deeper. And I'm telling you this from experience as someone who interviews a lot of people. Now, with the situation, this is where you also want to kind of treat it as that attention grabber and grab your audience's attention. So you have to create intriguing thoughts or intriguing instances, right? You want to be able to maybe say something like, so there was a situation where I was leading a team of 8 global developers on a tight deadline to launch a new product feature for one of our functioning internal tools, right? Or non-functioning internal tools. So that's how you want to set up your situation. Next, we have task. And I want to put all this together, but task. You want to be able to outline the specific task or responsibilities that you were assigned. So what was your role in the situation? What were the key objectives that you had to achieve? This part is super simple, so don't overcomplicate it. Just think of this as your mission statement. What was your goal to save the day? What were you going to do to conquer the world at your job? Or how are you going to simply meet these tight deadlines? Now, if we follow up on that previous situation that I used about 8 developers, and we add in task, this is where it may be. So my task was to coordinate with the developers and ensure that the code was bug-free and ensure that it was actually delivered on time and within budget. Are you with me? So let's take that task and the situation and put those together now. So situation. And look how I kind of throw these things. I say them subtle, say them in there, easy. So the situation, so there was a situation where I was leading a team of 8 global developers on a tight deadline to launch a new product feature for one of our internal tools. My task was to coordinate with the developers and make sure that the code was bug-free and to ensure that it was delivered on time and within budget. Okay, that was a little crappy, but you get where I'm going, right? I'm making this up, so bear with me. But this is where we get the real magic next, which is the action. This is where you really showcase your actual skills and abilities and your way of thinking. A lot of times it's really about how you think through things. It's not about being right or wrong, but how do you think and how do you execute? So again, what specific actions did you do to address your task? So think of like things like strategies. What strategies did you employ? What challenges did you overcome and how did you do that? Again, we're going to keep using the same example. So with the 8 developers, you might say something like, I built out a roadmap with key milestones in a Gantt chart alongside implementing an automated time management system to track and notify each developer of their current status and workload, right? So you with me? Again, very particular on what you just did. You can talk about the critical items, the issues that you addressed, and again, the how. Like, what systems did you use? What tools did you use? What thinking methods? You notice I said like the Gantt chart, the roadmap, etc. Now, lastly, we have result. And this is basically what I like to consider your grand finale. This is like your moment to actually celebrate the achievements. And I'm not just talking about the tangible achievements. I'll get to what I mean, but like first you want to focus on the outcomes of your actions. So like, what were the actual results? Any metrics or impact, etc.? Did you exceed your expectations? Things like that. All right, so you want to think about that. And one other thing that I always like to throw in there is a failure, because you have to remember that a fail is actually your first attempt in learning. And if you actually know how to use that the right way, you can use that as an additional build up to your success. It's such a game changer. Turn your failures to a build up to your success, because what this does is gives an opportunity to show that I'm able to, you're able to successfully work through challenges. So let's say, going back to the same analogy or the situation, let's say some of the developers were extremely hesitant and they didn't believe we were going to be able to make the deadlines, and morale was extremely low as we were approaching the deadlines. But since I was able to help build and debug some of the code and freed up some bandwidth within our time, the result of my efforts were that we were able to be successful. We launched with more features than we expected. And again, we saved money when we did this and kept it within budget and had 0 bugs. And okay, like I said, I'm just kind of throwing it all out there. But again, you want to close out with impact now. And this is where you say something like, and this led us to receiving 100% positive feedback from all of our users, increased the market share by 10%, and the entire team received spot bonuses from our VPs. Something like that, right? So you go from tangible results to actual impact. So now let's put this all together. And again, I'm just kind of making this up, so bear with me, but hear how I throw this together. So there was a situation where I was leading a team of 8 global developers, and I was on a really tight timeline while we were working on this, and we needed to launch this new product feature for one of our internal tools. My actual task was to coordinate with the developers and make sure that this code was bug-free and that we delivered these features on time and within budget. Now, what I actually did to accomplish this is I built out a roadmap with key milestones. I implemented a Gantt chart, and I automated the time management system to make sure that everything was on track and to notify each developer whether they had bandwidth or whether they didn't, and to kind of really manage all of their workload. Now, what we got out of that and the final result was that not only did I personally debug the critical code issues and ensure timely delivery, but we also got quality code, and some of the other developers were extremely hesitant, and they didn't actually believe that we'd be able to get this done. But doing this actually ensured confidence within them. It boosted the morale, and it took it from being low to being high, which led us to approaching our deadlines and successfully achieving them. Now the actual end result was we debugged some of the code, we freed up bandwidth, and as a result of my efforts particularly, we successfully launched on time and the feature received 100% feedback, 100% positive feedback from the users, and everyone on the team received a spot bonus from our VP. Okay, so that was a little messy, but again, this is me showing you how it is to like make something up in freestyle, but like be able to talk to it from a star perspective. So again, I think this is extremely important for you all to remember and to practice. And when it comes to interviews, I think it's important to go in with at least 3 to 6, 5 compelling and memorable star examples and interview stories. I always recommend that because then you can talk about different things with different folks that you interview with. A lot of times at these big tech companies, when you interview, you don't just interview with one person. You have people focus on certain areas. So if you have 3 to 5 strong star examples that you can talk to up, down, left, or right, and be able to answer follow-up questions, go deep into detail if needed, then you'll be set up for success. And think about every area within those responses, because if you are ever asked a question, especially like a hypothetical question, you could always pivot your response by saying, well, actually, you could pivot your response because if someone asks you a question that's hypothetical, you can say, well, actually, I experienced a situation very similar when ... star. And if you learn to position your star example with just the right amount of content, you can really just save the juice for the follow-up questions. Anyways, I'm gonna stop there. There's a lot of gems in there. If you wanna learn more about how to ace your interviews when you're trying to get a job at these high-paying tech companies and Fortune 500 companies, subscribe to the channel, watch my short videos, follow me on TikTok at the same name as BR Green, and we'll catch you in the next one. I'm gonna keep helping you guys get these technical skills up, these soft skills, hard skills, and all that. And realize this, I'm telling you guys this from my personal experience. I'm not just making this stuff up. I've been doing this for over 15 years now. So trust me, STAR, situation, task, action, results. 3 to 5 star examples that you can talk to up, down, left, right when you go into your next interview. And I bet you will be successful. Let me know if you are. Again, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good to be back, by the way. Peace. Tech.